In this video, we'll be hunting a box of nickels. We'll of course be looking for anything from before 1960, including Civil War nickels, Buffalo nickels, or anything older if we're lucky. We'll also be looking for any proofs, foreigns, heirs or varieties, or any other cool things we can find. And I do just have this one box right now, but if it doesn't produce enough finds, I will probably add another box onto this video. And this box does actually have a couple of enders, both are from the 50s. Right here is a 1952, and right here is a 1959, so having two enders is definitely a good sign for the box. So I'm going to start the hunt on box number 1, and I'll bring you back when I have our first find. Well, I haven't even cracked open a roll yet. I just took roll 1 out of the box, and there's an extra nickel in there, just loose in the box. So that's a free 5 cents. That is very odd. This has only happened to me once or twice before. It's just a 1998, but it is an extra 5 cents, and we'll take it. Now, let's actually start the hunt. Roll 2, and we have first couple finds, just a couple nickels from the 50s, and with two 50s enders, this might be a loaded box of 50s. But we have found 1957 out of Philly, and a 1959 that's also from Philly. Roll number 5 had the first 40s nickel of the hunt, but before I show you that, the roll also had my first 2022 nickel out of Philly. I found quite a few Denvers, but that's my first 2022 piece, so that's great to see. And the 40s find is a 1942, but it's not silver, and it's from Philly, but still great to see a nickel from 1942. Roll 12, and we have a couple more older Jefferson finds, and they are 1940, which is the oldest find of the box so far, out of Philly, and another 1959 from Denver. Just took a roll 15 out of the box, and this has never happened before. I've had one loose coin in a box, but we have a second one in this box, so we've made 10 cents so far with this box. Maybe there will be more throughout the rest of the box, who knows, that would be crazy, but just a 2007 nickel, made another 5 cents, that's awesome. Roll 16, and we have another couple of finds from the 40s and 50s. The 40s is our first nickel from 1947, and it's from Philly, and we have yet another 1959 out of Denver. Just open the next roll, roll 17, and we might have a silver in this roll. There's a lot of different colored coins, but this one on the right definitely looks the most silvery to me. Let's see if it is. And it is. We're going to have a silver war nickel, which is awesome. Has a big P mint mark above the Monticello, and it is a 1944 Philly. Awesome to find a silver in the box. That's a really good sign in roll 17. Now let's get some more. Roll 18 had that 1952 ender, and it had a couple more 50s nickels in the roll with it. The 1952 ender is out of Philly, and it also had a 1953 Denver and 1959 from Philly. Roll 26, and we have another find from the 40s, and this one is pretty worn 1941 Philadelphia. Just opened roll 35, and I see the edge of the first foreign of the hunt, and it looks like it's probably going to be a Canadian nickel, which it is, and it is from 1992. Next roll, and we have a couple more finds. First, we have another nickel from 1941. This one's from Philly, and we also have 1956 from Philly as well. Next roll again, and we have another find from the 40s, this one being 1947, minted in Philly. Roll 40 was the second ender of the box, nothing else in the roll, but the ender was a 1959 Denver. Roll 42, and we have a couple more finds, one from the 40s, which is a 1946 from Philly, and 1954 from Denver. Roll 44 had a pair of finds from the 50s, which were 1956 Philly and a 1958 Denver. Last roll of the box had one last find, which was 1956, minted in Denver. Put that on the board and do the box overview. So it's actually a pretty good box. We got a lot from the 50s over there and a lot from the 40s, including the best find of the box, 1944P, 35% silver war nickel, which was awesome. We also got one Canadian and 109, so it was a pretty good box with a good mix of finds, even though we did get a silver, which was awesome. Still going to add one more box onto this video, so we can hopefully add some more finds, and maybe some more silver, or maybe, if we get lucky, even a buffalo. So, I'll be back when we have nickel box number 2. Well, I'm back, and it has been a while since I've been able to get a nickel box, probably a few weeks to a month, but I was finally able to get box number 2 for this video. So I'm excited to finally hunt some nickels again and continue this hunt. Hopefully we can get some good finds in nickel box number 2 of the video. Roll number 2, and this second box is going to start off with a bang because I did already look. It didn't totally have the war nickel look to me, so I did take a peek, and we do have a war nickel right here. It's a 1943 out of Philly. Awesome to get a war nickel. We got one in the first box as well. 2 war nickels in the hunt, and only 2 rolls into box number 2. This is a really good sign for the box. Roll 4, we have our second find of the box. It's not a war nickel, but it is one from the 40s, 1949 out of Philly. Roll 7, and we have a couple more finds. I did already pull out 1959 out of Denver, but I bring you in because I did just uncover in 1939, which is the oldest nickel of the hunt, and if it has a mint mark, it's a key date. It's pretty worn, probably won't, but let's just see. And we don't have a mint mark, and it doesn't look like it's the DDR, but I'll still definitely take a nickel from the 30s. Roll 9 had a couple of nickels from the 50s, and they were 1952 and a 1955, both out of Denver. Roll 13, and we have another find from the 40s, and it is 1941 out of Philly. Roll 16, and we actually have 4 more finds from the 40s and 50s. We had a pretty good roll. One's a 1940 out of Philly, then a 1947 also out of Philly, and then a couple from the 50s, 1952 Denver, and a pretty nice 1954 minted in San Francisco. That was a good roll. Next roll, and we have another nickel from 1940, and just like the last one, it's out of Philly. Next roll once again, we have another nickel from the 40s. This one is another 1947 Philly. Just opened roll 24, and I haven't looked yet, but I think we might have a silver war nickel right there on the left. Another discolored one near the middle I'm just going to check out first, and no, it's definitely not a silver. This one, though, I think is. Let's see if I'm right. And we do have another silver for the box. Has a Denver mint mark, and it is 1944. 2 silvers in the first half of the box is awesome. Hopefully we can find some more. Same roll, and with the war nickel, that roll also had 4 more finds, so that was definitely the best roll of the box so far. A couple from the 40s, 1940 out of Philly, and 1941 also from Philly, and a couple from the later 50s, 1957 Denver, and 1958 Denver. Roll 27, we have a couple more nickels from the 50s, and we have 1953 out of Philly, and 1958 minted in Denver. Next roll, and we have a couple more finds once again. This time we have one from the 40s, another 1940 out of Philly, and another 1958 from Denver. Roll 30, we have another find from the 40s, and this one is the first 1948 nickel of the hunt, and it is out of Philly. Roll 32, we have a couple more finds. They are just a couple nickels from the late 50s, 1958 and 1959, both from Denver. Roll 35, and once again, we have a couple nickels from the later 50s, and this time we have a 1957 and a 1959, both from Denver. Next roll, and we have another find from the 40s this time, and we do have a nickel from 1942, but it's not silver, and it is out of Philly. Roll 39, and we have another nickel from 1942. This one's also not silver, but it is a 1942 Denver, which is a tougher to find date, so I'll definitely take it, even though it's a little bit damaged. The last few rolls of the box were pretty cold, but we did get one last find in the last roll of the box, just another 1957 out of Denver. So that box has been hunted, so I'll bring you back for a wrap-up. Second box has been hunted, so let's go over the finds. We actually ended up with a ton of estimates for this hunt, mostly from the second box. There are a lot of estimates in that box. We ended up with 36, like double the amount I normally do. Just 1 for 1 for the hunt from the first box, 1992 commemorative Canadian, and we'll take that. And also a few 2009s as well, 1 Philly and 2 Denvers. Now for the older Jeffersons, we got a lot from the 40s and a lot from the 50s. Definitely a lot of finds to these boxes. And 1 from the 30s, just a 1939 out of Philly. Tougher date, 1942 Denver, non-silver, and a pretty nice 1954 San Francisco. Now the best finds of the hunt, we ended up with 3 silvers, 1 from the first box and 2 from the second, 1943P, 1944P, and 1944 Denver. No buffaloes yet again. It's been pretty tough for me to find those this entire year. Hopefully we can get back on them sometime soon, but I'll definitely take a few war nickels in a 2-box hunt. And overall, with all these finds, this was definitely a great 2-box nickel hunt.